So for this evening, we have with us Jazmine. So as a career strategist, Jazmine Newsome offers career training and transition services for students to obtain internships or jobs. She also creates programming and networking opportunities for students to be successful in their professional careers. Prior to joining Logan in 2019, Jazmine worked at Lindenwood University in the admissions department. She earned her Master's of Education from Lindenwood, as well as a Bachelor of Science in Political Science, with minors in English and Women's and Gender Studies from Truman State University. Jazmine is a member of the National Association of Colleges and Employers, NACE, American College Personnel Association, ACPA, and Gateway Career Services Association. So thank you, Jazmine.
Thank you. Okay, am I good to start sharing my screen?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay. All right. So good evening, guys. Thank you guys for joining me this evening. So like she said, my name is Jazmine Newsome. I work in the Career Services Department here at Logan University. There's a team of 3 of us. So I primarily work with the DC students, and then my coworker, Erica, she works with the College of Health Sciences students. And then my supervisor, Dana Worley, she kind of is the behind the scenes of our entire operation and kind of makes sure that we continue to bring new programming and different resources to the students at Logan University. So admissions asked me to come and talk to you guys kind of about the different pathways to getting jobs, some of the resources that we have, some of the networking opportunities that we have as well. So it's a little bit of everything. So hopefully throughout the presentation, you can kind of get an idea of what we do. But I like to tell students, the whole point of our job is to help you get a job once you graduate. So let's get started. Okay, so the purpose of this over. Okay. So the purpose of our department is to basically take everything that you learn in the classroom and kind of apply it to preparing to apply for jobs. So the whole point of it is to basically take all your training and put you professional and kind of teach you how to market yourself and teach you how to go into interviews and really be able to market yourself properly to obtain a job. We go through career training and coaching to make sure that you're aware of the etiquette and the jargon in the field and any changes or anything new within the field that you'll want to be prepared for and know about once you start networking with doctors. We do serve all of our students. So like I said, I work with the DC students, but we work with College of Health Sciences students, we work with alumni, we may work with we've had professors come and meet with us to help them update things as well. So we literally help everyone. It's just making that transition period smooth. So we don't want students panicking about trying to find a job or trying to learn how to network or trying to navigate a career fair. We just want to make sure you guys have the tools already in your pocket and you're ready to go. As well as networking opportunities. Like I said, we try to continue to keep our programming fresh and new and so that So we would like to make sure that it's available for networking opportunities, that we're bringing things to you, as well as making sure you have opportunities to go and seek out during your time here, but also once you graduate. So why chiropractic care? So there has been a shift in how people view the traditional medical care. So some people are wanting alternatives to prescriptions, wanting second opinions or wanting different opinions on medicine and wanting to go the non-surgical route. And so there has been a spike in patients wanting chiropractic care. Chiropractic care is looked at holistically, and their wellness is kind of all around and connects with a lot of other with different types of wellness. So there is a projected growth in the field, which is good for you guys because that means there's going to be a higher need for chiropractors in the field. So there is a lot to look forward to, which makes it really fun for us because we get to prep you guys for that process. But it's also nice to know that there is going to be an increase so that there'll be increase in jobs for you guys to seek out. Some similar occupations to a chiropractor. I just kind of threw these in there. A massage therapist, athletic trainers, exercise physiologists, occupational therapists, physical therapists, physicians, surgeons. You have people that work in hospitals or work with veterans. So these kind of all align under the chiropractic umbrella, as I like to call it. Some specializations that some doctors will carry will be sports, nutrition, neurology, orthopedic, pediatrics, and nutrition. So what's really cool about this is that we do have some master's programs, and I'm sure admissions can give you guys more information on that, but some students will pick one of those programs to then add with the chiropractic program. So then you have a specialization, or if you decide that you want to go specifically into that field, once you have completed what you'd like to complete in the chiropractic field, you can then transition into a different area. So some students take advantage of that as well. So there's a couple different pathways that you can take when you're getting ready to apply for jobs. So the traditional associate is basically going to be a DC that works under another DC. So you may have a doctor in a practice take you under their wing, show you how they run their practice. We have a lot of doctors that'll hire our students once they graduate to kind of teach them the way of their practice and how they run it. And then eventually they're basically preparing them to take over their practice. You'll have some situations like that. But basically it's like having someone above you that you work under, and they kind of show you the ropes and make sure that you're prepared for when you maybe own practice one day, or just so that you're up to date on everything that's going on in the field while you're working in the field. We also have some students that will choose to start their own practices. So I'll talk about a resource in a little bit about how some doctors will market these practices that they're selling and their equipment and things like that. But owning your own practice is definitely another way to go into the job field if you don't want to work under anyone right after you graduate. And then we also have partnerships with Veterans Administration, with different healthcare institutions. So we'll actually have some of those doctors come and visit campus sometimes and kind of tell you about the opportunities that they have available. So those are kind of some different areas. We also have students that will go and work for athletic teams. So fun fact, I just found this out, but all NFL teams have their own at least one designated chiropractor. So that's something really cool if you're interested in possibly working for a sports team. So you'll have the traditional associate if you want to work under someone, which is it's probably the most popular one once students leave right after college. The private practice, if you want to own your own practice and start a practice or start a practice with someone else. And then the partnerships with some of the healthcare institutions that we do partner with as a university, and then athletic teams. So now I'm going to kind of get into the career services resources and how we kind of help you guys go into that field once you basically are taking the things you're learning in the classroom and moving it over to being able to market yourself on paper, whether that's a CV or in person when you're networking or when you're going in for interviews. So I like to kind of start with career coaching, because that's basically a career strategist is basically a career coach. We do all things under career services. And so we kind of take all of our resources, and that may go into one career coaching session. So I've been at Logan 2 years now. And when I first started, it's one of my first students that I first started working with. I think they were a 6. And so what was really cool is this student didn't have a resume, didn't have a cover letter, which is really, they described themselves as really rusty, and they just were kind of freaking out about preparing themselves to be able to kind of start calling doctors to start shadowing and kind of going into the office and working with doctors to kind of learn once they weren't in the classroom. And so in our career coaching sessions, so they were kind of something we did it every other week. We did it a Thursday afternoon, and they'd come in, and the first thing we started with, I like to kind of sit with students and talk through things that they've accomplished while they've been at Logan, maybe why they decided they want to come to Logan, goals that they have for themselves, things that they're involved in while they're currently enrolled at Logan, and then what do they have goals? What goals do they have set for themselves once they graduate? Where do they want to be? Where do they see themselves? Do they want to own their own practice? Is there a specific area of the care that they want to work in? It's just, we get a better feel for who they are and where they are in the process of, do they have documents prepared? Do they feel comfortable going into an interview tomorrow? And so asking these questions, we're kind of able to evaluate where they are and what resources they may need. So in the first session, we just kind of like sat and talked about their goals and what they're really interested in and what they were missing and what they were freaking out about. So then we're able to kind of start from the very beginning. So from there, we then met frequently, and the next session, we kind of walked through their CV, and they brought me a CV from high school. And they're like, I have not updated this since I graduated, which was totally fine. We got the cover, got the CV together. And then once we got that together, we were able to create a cover letter. So now they have the two important documents that they need prepared and ready to go. If I always tell students, if you run into a doctor at a networking event tomorrow, do you have a CV and cover letter ready to go to be sent over after you meet them? So we're able to get that box checked off. And then from there, we were able to schedule a mock interview and get that student really comfortable with not being nervous going in and talking with someone. And then from there, it was just kind of like we went through all the resources. And it's really cool because it was one of the first students that I started working with when I started working at Logan. And so that student graduated, and it was really sweet because they left a really sweet card under my door, basically thanking me for taking the time to work with them and just kind of make sure they're really prepared. And so knowing that student was able to leave and be employed and know that I'd helped and assisted through that process was really, really special. So that's kind of like the career coaching session. I like to say it may not be one, it may be multiple, and we kind of meet over time to make sure at the end of it, you have everything ready to go. And what's really cool was we're able to help that student update their CV, update their cover letter over the trimesters that they were there. And so it wasn't so stressful once it came time for them to start applying for jobs. So that was really cool. But then going into it, I would say our biggest resource that our students take advantage of is definitely going to be our CV and cover letter critique. So you'd be surprised at how many students come in, they're like, I don't have a CV, I don't know how to prep one, and they're panicking because usually around trimester 8 is when they have to start submitting applications, when they start applying for preceptors. And so we have really awesome templates that kind of help them get started. And then from there, we're really able, I call it a brainstorming session. We basically sit down, we look at what they have. I reassure them that what they have at the beginning and the start is a great start. And then we kind of go from there of what they need and how it can be added. And then we get it all onto the paper, and then we glam it up and we add power verbs, and we make sure that it really describes the student and their role and the duties that they performed under that role. But also, I always say, you're your biggest fan. So it's important. People sometimes are very shy and don't like to really put everything they do and really put it all on the paper of how much of a rock star they are during their roles that they're in. And so it's my job to pull all the rock star qualities out and get them to put it on paper. Same with the cover letter. We want to make sure you're introducing yourself properly and that you have it ready to go. So I think that's probably our biggest resource that our students use, because it's something that they're going to need once they graduate. Now, mock interviews are probably my favorite resource that we use, because it allows an interview. I also tell students is basically you're introducing yourself and you're explaining why you're awesome, but you don't only do this in an interview. You may do this at a networking event or a virtual career fair or anywhere where you might meet someone that might potentially hire you. So just being able to kind of be on the spot and be ready to go is always important. So I like to keep the mock interviews fun. You'll come in or we can schedule it on Zoom, and we'll basically have a mock interview. You'll pretend that you've never met me. I'll play the employer and you'll be the employee, the potential employee, and I'll walk you through some questions, and we'll throw some random ones in there. Like if you had to pick 3 people living or dead to eat dinner with, who would it be and why? Just to kind of keep the student on their toes. But I've also had that happen to me in an interview before too. So it's one of my favorites, because I always say it's something you can take advantage of each trimester just to kind of brush up on your interviewing skills. So that's probably my favorite one that we provide. One that we've been doing a lot more of recently is going to be cold call scripts. So if you're calling a doctor to see if you can potentially come in and shadow, or meet with the doctor about a potential job placement, or just meet with the doctor to talk about their practice, knowing what to say when you call that person is super important. And so we'll sit down with the students and we'll kind of discuss and write down, okay, obviously you're going to introduce yourself. Now, what are going to be your talking points? Very quick. It's kind of like creating an elevator speech, but on the phone instead of in person. So we'll help students develop cold call scripts. A job search session is basically, we do that for jobs or internships. It's basically a student is getting ready to apply for a job or internship. And some students want to do these internships or want to be placed in different states or different cities. So we'll sit down and kind of go through the list that we have of where current students have been placed or where previous students have been placed for internships and jobs. And then we'll start with that list. And then we'll also look in the area to see if there's any placements or any places that student could call. And then we kind of go from there. And then we use our platforms as well. So I'll kind of talk about our platforms once I get to the next piece about the online resources that we provide, but the job search session is basically us sitting down with the student, figuring out where they want to go, what area they want to be in, and kind of get an idea for where they want to be placed, and then us trying to find a couple places for them to be able to reach out to or to be able to find on a platform for them to apply for those jobs. So unfortunately, I am not on campus 24/7. And so we have some students, we know you guys' hours are weird sometimes and you're up late or you're up really early. So we like to make sure that resources are available to you at all times. So we do have what's called an online career resource center, and it's basically, it's through Canvas. So it's through your Canvas shell that you use, but we have our own piece. And so it's gonna have all of our resources, but written down basically in a virtual format. So anything down to what should I wear to an interview, or how should I prepare before an interview. I like to say, one of my favorite things I tell students, I don't know if anybody watches Grey's Anatomy, but the Superwoman pose where you stand there in your Superwoman pose and you just breathe, and then you gather yourself before you go into an interview. Things like that. So it'll talk about what you should wear. If your resume or CV isn't up to date before and you're unable to meet with career services, let's say it's a Sunday and you have an interview on a Monday, it'll give you tips of how to update those documents. Anything that we provide in person, there's a form of it written out in this Canvas shell, which is really cool for students to be able to access whenever they want. Another thing that we do for DC students is going to be the trimester 7 check-in. So trimester 7, it'll either be me or my supervisor will come in and we will meet with your class and we'll just kind of discuss our resources, see where everyone's at, kind of give them tips and tricks on how to get their cover letters together, how to get their CVs together, how to start thinking about where they want to start applying, anything that you might be freaking out about that you're not sure if you should be freaking out about, or questions that you may have regarding career services. We make sure by trimester 7, we've met with you. With some of the other programs, we'll do check-ins as well. So we just want to make sure you guys know that the resources are available to you, even if you don't need them at that moment, so that you know kind of where to go and have an idea of what's available to you when you do need them. We also do some really cool workshops. So we'll do coffee chats. We do some lunch and learns on campus where students can come in, and we've done like a sandwich seminar where we've done an entire day, or not entire day, but entire hour on resume critiques and basically helping students prepare those, and then they got to eat lunch with us. So we do different workshops. My coworker Erica also does different workshops on etiquette, on how to prepare for a virtual career fair. We just try to, like I said, we keep trying to bring resources and topics to students that are really going to be beneficial for you guys throughout your time here at Logan. So those are some of the workshops that we'll do. So the search, the most important part. So we do have resources that assist with the search. So Handshake is probably our biggest platform that we use. We've had it now for almost 3 years now. So Handshake is basically a job posting platform. I say it's like a hybrid between Facebook and LinkedIn. It's going to allow you to basically connect with career services. So as far as the career services piece goes, you can submit your CV and cover letter to us, and we can critique it and send it back to you. You can also schedule appointments with us. You can specialize what kind of appointment you may need. This is all available to you. Career Services will also post the different events that we have coming to campus or that are going to be virtually. That'll be all in the platform, and you can also register for our Career Services events as well. Then we have employers that can then connect with students. So what's really cool about Handshake is you basically have your own profile, which is why I say it's like LinkedIn and Facebook, and you can submit your resume into the profile and it'll populate most of your profile for you, so you don't have to type each section in. But what's cool about that, once your profile begins to kind of come together, employers that we've connected with on the platform can then connect with students and let you know about any jobs or internship opportunities that they have, but you can also connect with employers. So that's going to be Handshake. It is the #1 career resource available here in the United States. And so a lot of colleges use this to help their students throughout the job search process. So that's a really cool piece to the Handshake. We also have DC meet and greets. And so DC meet and greets are basically, we bring doctors to campus during common hour, and they basically set up a table and they meet with students throughout that common hour for students to be able to ask them about their practice, ask them about job opportunities that they might have available. But what's really cool is I always tell students, meet with these doctors early on. You can build relationships so easily. A lot of these doctors will come each trimester or maybe every other trimester. So if you're meeting with these doctors and just networking and asking questions and getting to know them. Maybe once you're getting ready to graduate, you'll be able to kind of make that connection and they'll know who you are and you'll be a familiar face and a familiar person at this time where they can talk to you about the job opportunities and they've maybe told you classes that maybe you should take or offered you some advice on some outside things that you should get involved with. So even if you're not looking for a job from these people though, I think it's also super important to just learn from them. You may not want to ask your professor some questions about the field. You may want to go to some people that are currently in the field and here to tell you all the tips and tricks. So I highly encourage students to meet with them, and that's for all students. So if you're a try 1 or try 4 or try 8, whatever trimester you're in, these doctors are available to meet with you when they visit. Some of them will also come to campus, and if they are actively hiring, they will have interviews after that common hour is over. So sometimes it's a way for you not even to have to set up a special interview and go somewhere. You may be able to interview with that doctor on the spot that day. The classified ads are basically, like I talked about earlier, when students will want to start their own practice. Any doctors that are selling their practice or wanting to hire a doctor to then transition into taking over the practice, they'll post these things in the classifieds, which is through the Logan University page. Any doctors selling equipment or having an event or anything like that, they'll also post on the classified ads page. And then any job opportunities. So these are job opportunities, and I should have said that for Handshake, but it's not just for the St. Louis area or for the state of Missouri. It's going to be for the entire country. So you'll have jobs for California, you'll have jobs for Florida, literally anywhere. And so same with the classifieds, if they're selling a practice or they're hiring, this will all be posted on there. One of my favorite things, right now they're virtual, but I'm hoping in the near future they will be in person, are going to be our career fairs. So our career fairs, we work with a lot of doctors. We'll invite the ones that we've connected with on Handshake, the ones that we've connected with on the classifieds, any doctors that have come to visit. We'll basically put them right now virtually in the same room, but they'll have breakout sessions. But typically on campus, they'll all be in the same room, and then students are able to kind of either click into these rooms or walk up to these tables, whichever format it's in, and they're able to basically meet with these doctors, learn more about their practice, where they are, what makes them special, what makes their office special, and if it's going to be a good fit for them. And sometimes they'll bring swag, which is also really fun as well, and we definitely appreciate that. So our career fairs are definitely something we've rolled out in the past year that has been really successful, and students have really seemed to enjoy it. And then we also just continue to provide networking opportunities. I talked about those coffee chats that we'll have. Sometimes we'll have virtual interviews, or just we'll bring doctors to speak, and then students can meet and ask them questions after. So that's been a really awesome resource that I know a lot of students have definitely taken advantage of. So another resource, so the first destination survey is something that we issue through Handshake. So we'll issue that out to students. We'll send it out to your email once you graduate. It's a way for us to check in with students to just kind of see how you're doing. You're able to kind of respond if you're currently working in the field, if you've continued to another institution to gain another degree. We're able to find out if you've are still looking or if you're just having trouble looking. It's a way for us to gauge if we need to reach out to that student. So don't think just because you graduate that we are going to just let you go and not make sure that you're ready and that you don't have resources after you leave. Like I said, we help alumni as well. And so we know that transition between graduation and applying for jobs can kind of be tricky. So just checking in with students and making sure that they're doing okay. And if they do need help with applying for jobs, that we can assist with that as well. We are happy to announce, though, that 95% of our students have been employed within 9 months of them graduating. So this is within the chiropractic students. So that's something that we're really excited about, but we just also want students to know once they graduate, if they get hired or if they get hired somewhere and they want to transition to another state, we're able to help them as well. So keep that in mind. So like I said, we do also work with alumni. So if we've had alumni want to get into different areas, or they've partnered with a different kind of doctor and they want to start working within that field. So anything, if they're transitioning, we can help them update their CV, or we can do mock interviews. Any of the resources that we kind of talked about earlier, we're able to provide to those students or previous students as well. If they decide they want to go back to school, we can kind of walk them through that process, updating their CVs. But also, we like to connect with alumni because we like to connect them with our current students and the ones that are getting ready to graduate. So just creating that network and making sure students know that they have kind of a corner behind them of support. So a lot of our alumni will like to come back and speak with students, or they'll do the DC meet and greets, or they'll do our virtual career fairs. And so that kind of keeps Logan everywhere by us being able to keep everyone connected. So I want to end this with some fun facts. So just a couple things. It's estimated that DCs treat over 35 million Americans each year. There's roughly 100,000 doctors in chiropractic in active practice across the globe, and about 10,000 students are currently enrolled in chiropractic educations. Each day, 1 million adjustments take place across the globe. Chiropractic is recognized and regulated by law in over 49 countries. In the US, DCs are licensed in all 50 states. So that's kind of all that I have for you guys. I know it was a lot of information, but like I said, in a nutshell, our role in our department is to make sure that you guys are prepared to basically make sure that you're employed once you graduate and that you feel supported through your time here at Logan within the Career Services Department, but also transitioning into the field and then making sure that you know you have a place to kind of connect with if you ever need any future assistance. So this is kind of my contact information. I know that admissions, if you guys have any questions, you can also forward my information along as well. But that's what I have. Okay. Okay, so that's all I have. I'll go into the chat box. Okay. Okay, so the webinar is geared towards students that are wanting to enroll into the program. We help students literally from now until even after they graduate. So we basically can help anyone. Thanks, Erica. Okay. Did anybody else have any other questions that they wanted to pop into the chat? Thanks, Erica, for answering those. Thank you for joining me. I know it was a lot of information.
Does anyone have a question for Jazmine? Okay. Well, thank you, Jazmine, for all of your information, and thank you everyone for joining us this evening.
Thank you guys for having me.
Have a great evening, everyone.
Okay, bye.
Thank you, you too.